This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
So today, we're wrapping up the last chapter of the penultimate book.
Last week, we did the penultimate chapter of the penultimate book.
And we were just talking before we turned recording on about how this is very much flavored like the next book.
Yes.
We have a lot of notes for it. There's a lot of foreshadowing. There's a lot of, it's the last battle now. Even not the last battle itself, but just the flavor of Memory of Light. This is very much, here we go. And then, the book stops.
Lots of POVs, short POVs, sort of one little bit per, one little point per each POV, but switching repeatedly. That's something we're going to see a lot more of in the next book.
Yeah. Get ready for POV switching like you've never seen. This is a small taste of what next book is going to be like.
But this is good stuff. I'm really enjoying it. I think there's a lot of, Graendal doesn't spell out her plans or what's going on at the end of the book, right? There's some stuff to guess about that's not explicitly stated. There's actually some interesting stuff around Rand and the dream and how Lanfear got in. And, there's some...
That part feels Jordan. That section feels eye of the world level Jordan.
Yeah, that's really well. Either Sanderson's really got eye of the world open and he's like, okay, how do I ape this really well? Or Jordan wrote that a little, at least that scene down at some point.
I think he wrote it. I think that's one of those scenes that Jordan had written really early on and knew he was writing to connect with the whole time and just kind of has been sitting in his notes for 30 years by the time Sanderson was like, okay, here's how I dock with that module and put it into the epilogue, and there we go. That's my feeling.
Then I have more questions for you because when we get there, I definitely want to ask you then if Jordan wrote that, what he was thinking, because I've got some thoughts.
Yeah, and as we were also saying before recording turned on, this is the last battle Talmanes. This is Talmanes freshly out of the oven, immediately popped out of the muffin tin, still steaming, but fully formed. This is the Talmanes that we love from the last book. It's here he is. As Olver wins the game in Mirror with Matt, Talmanes is done cooking as a character.
This is the setup to his fall shaking the very walls of Camelin and of the world, right? That he's the one who realizes that cannons make walls obsolete, and that changes everything about war.
Delete wall.
Yeah, basically. and the way his fall shakes the world is because of that realization, because of the way that cannons now affect all of, I'll call it modern warfare, because they have guns, and also because it's the modern Age of Legends. Yeah.
It's exciting. It's fun. There's a lot of foreshadowing for the next book to look at here, and I expect this will not be the shortest recording in the world of what we've been doing. Because lately we've been doing the Sanderlanche stuff where it's just action scene. Cool, that happened. This time I think we actually are, because it's an epilogue with hooks, we're going to have some stuff to speculate about and foreshadow about a little bit.
We're going to ease into it. This is a nice, it's a hot tub of information. And so I'm going to dip a toe in and just slide in till I'm comfortable. I'm not just going to cannonball into this one.
Right.
And then we're going to soak in it for a while.
Yes, very much. We're going to marinate in this last little bit before closing out this book.
And after. An epilogue.
And after the epilogue, the symbol is the snake and the wheel.
Thank you, honey. Mm-hmm. I got tea.
Nice.
There's something about starting Wheel of Time with tea. I mean, it's appropriate, right?
I was going to say, don't spill it.
Yeah.
Drink it. Don't spill it. Your computer doesn't need the tea.
But I'm spilling the tea on the microphone, right?
Indeed, but that won't happen if you spill tannins into your motherboard.
These things are waterproof, right?
Okay. I'm going to read us in now. Graendal hurriedly gathered what she needed from her new palace. From her desk, she took a small angreal Masana had traded her in exchange for information. It was in the shape of a small, carved ivory knife. She'd lost her gold ring in Althor's attack. Graendal tossed it into her pack, then snatched a sheaf of papers from her bed. Names of contacts, eyes and ears, everything she'd managed to remember from what had been destroyed at Natron's Barrow. Waves surged against the rocks outside. It was still dark. Only moments had passed since her last tool had failed her. Ibarra surviving the battlefield. That was supposed to have worked. I like that. It's very Jordanian in its not telling you everything. She's just fuming. You get little bits and pieces of what she's fuming about and panicking about, but it's mostly you're in the fog of panic rather than fog of war, but fog of panic.
Yeah, because her plans failed, and she was told, that was basically her last chance. So, because she's had multiple failures. And there's a couple little bits of information. One, the fact that Missana can give her an Angreal that she probably took from the White Tower, then the number of times have we screamed, like, the Forsaken can't get Angreal, but they can infiltrate the White Tower, and the White Tower has Angreal? Like, what is going on there? Why had there not been a distribution of Angreal out among the Forsaken? And that one always confused me, and I feel like this is addressing that a little bit. To be like, yeah, Missana has access to them, and she just wasn't giving them out. Like,
my best guess is that maybe Danelle had one personally that had been hidden in her rooms, and so Missana felt like she had that one as a trade good that like wouldn't be noticed as missing because Danelle had already made it go missing like before her identity got yoinked to be Missana. That's the best I got to explain that one-off discrepancy, but it's still a big plot hole.
And it's a plot hole we've talked about. Like, that's a Jordan plot hole that we've talked about repeatedly.
Oh, yeah,
it was like,
I'm fine with Sanderson not fixing it retroactively at the last minute. That's fine.
Yeah. And then only moments had passed since her last tool had failed her. That combined with that idiot White Cloak makes me think that Bayar is who she's referencing here. Like, these are the quotes that give us Bayar as her tool.
Right. And Bayar doing that move is like, what, an hour or two after that battle ends? So it's basically at the same time, right? Her entire plan collapsed, and then there was one final epilogue of a collapse as Bayar also failed. So, yeah, she watched the battle, however she did, saw it go down, saw Bayar fail, and was like, I am so screwed. Because if Bayar had, like, somehow succeeded or not attempted it yet, maybe she would still have one last leg to stand on. But because Bayar catastrophically failed, she truly has no cards left to play.
He took himself off the playing board for sure. Or,
well, his work husband did.
Yes. Bornall did. She talks about strings around the new childlike empress. I assume that's why the Dark Friend is placed close to her that Min has to call out?
Yeah, because Graendal also, I believe, as Hessalam picks up at some point with the Shan-Chan, she's like found out with Min's viewings. Either that or it's Moghedien. But I want to say it's Hessalam. But yeah, she has been starting to fill the power vacuum that Semirhage left behind. Oh, Athlon's correcting me. It is Moghedien that's in that tent in that scene. Thank you. But yeah, she had been... Someone has to try to step up and take over the Tuon situation because Semirhage left that void. So I guess it makes sense that multiple Forsaken kind of are making a play for Shan-Chan because Shan-Chan is relatively a free agent as far as the dark side is concerned with the loss of Semirhage, because it's not like Semirhage shared power or left the master codes with anyone else, right? Like, that's a void.
Yeah, at this point the Shan-Chan are half the continent, right? Essentially, right? They are the west and the south, while Rand is the east and the north.
Yeah, and Tuon is, for all her flaws and all her twisted machinations and all of her inhumane nonsense, she's not a dark friend. And she's deeply opposed to dark friends, and she will continually choose against the dark side when presented with a stark set of options. So they are going to be more of a problem to the Dark One than not at this point.
As we see in the last battle, right? I mean, it is there
repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Shan-Chan who really come in and like mop up the forces of the Dark One, right? They're the ones who they're the America, right? Like, Europe fights the battle for years and years and years, sacrifices, loses all their shit, and then in comes America with air superiority and, essentially mops up the end of the war and takes all the credit.
Yeah. And also, as Vuji pointed out, in-world, probably pretty comparable to Eredhol in a lot of ways. Like, the opposition to the dark is unquestioning. At what cost of acceptable crimes against humanity is the question.
God, what would have been great is to see more death all up in with the Shan-Chan. Like, if that's how he came to the last battle, right? As like he had integrated himself somehow with Tuon, right? Because he's Matt's opposition, right? So somehow he's become part of the Shan-Chan, because that was back in book 2. He was trying to get himself in with the Shan-Chan. So come full circle with Turak, right? So come full circle, get him back in with the Shan-Chan, have him, there with Tuon. And then the whole encounter with Matt makes a little more sense, because Matt's then going to show up for Tuon. And that's where he could encounter Shazam, and have that battle. And like that, I feel like would be make a little more sense. Also, he should have died in that battle, right? Like, so.
Oh, and then we could have had Tuon watch him die and like experience that, oh, I actually love him now that he's beyond my reach kind of moment where she actually becomes kind of human for a second. And
then she can redeem herself over his death. We can fridge Matt. It's fine.
Yes, and then she can solve slavery in Matt's memory with Matt's sister's help, because it's the closest she can get to Matt is like actually working with his sister Bodwin to like
right
work on stuff, like in his name, because they both miss him in different ways.
Or even work with Egwene, who of course won't die because Matt dies.
Right, because very sister-like relationship to Matt. So yeah, totally. We could just fridge Matt. I think Fane just has too much like trauma around how it went last time, and he's just like, no, I'm not. I tried Shan-Chan once, been there, done that, got the shitty tattoo. Like, if there's too much Fane still left in that creature, it's just like, no, that didn't work.
So in pops the Dark One, Shadar Haran. So and I think this is important, right? Because this is before the Dark One sheds his skin and becomes like the darkness in the pit in the mountain. He hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, this is still a week or more away from that point. Like, he's real close. He's real close to shedding that chrysalis, but it hasn't quite happened yet. Also, I think it's interesting that she is so desperate to escape that she's literally considering hopping to a mirror world. Like, that's how out of cards she is. She's literally like, I can interdimension hop and just wait for an age and then come back. Like some sort of Chronicles of Narnia shit.
Right. I'm not sure that would work, though. I mean, fuck.
She's desperate. I don't know that she's got a good plan. She just has a plan.
Because the Dark One is a constant. It's the same Dark One in all the mirror world.
I also don't know that you could live permanently in a mirror world. I feel like you'd have to come back eventually, like a cat in a mouse hole.
Yeah. Not all the mirror worlds are like the one that Rand went to with no life and stuff like that.
Right, but if there's enough life in it to be sustainable, then surely the Dark One has like a very tangible presence. Like, I'm imagining that if there is such a thing as a portal world where the Dark One can't get you, it's not going to be one that can sustain your life, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, essentially what you were saying, the Dark One is a constant. Like, if you're far enough away from the Dark One for him not to be a constant, there's probably not enough reality for you to, like, exist.
Right, that makes sense.
I think she's
it's a dumb plan.
She's spinning in a dead end, a dead alley. She's just spinning in circles.
Whatever the problem is, like the idea that she could go survive in a portal world is like, no, not away from the Dark One.
Yeah, like that was not going to work. So it would have been kind of fun to see her try, like have like a whole like, world hopping chase scene. But alas, instead we just get Shadar Haran interrupting her before she can leave the station.
And dropping lore, right?
Yes.
Masema has fallen. 3 chosen, destroyed by your actions. Right? So who are the 3 that we know about?
Masana
has fallen.
And Halima,
right, who was tied up.
And Asmodean.
Right. This is the lore drop that sort of reveals, in quotes, that Graendal killed Asmodean.
This was when dumbasses like me, who didn't think it was obvious, were finally clued in.
Because you start counting and you're like, wait, okay, she has nothing to do with that. Those early ones, the only one that is unknown at this point, in quotes, is Asmodean. And then if you go back and you look at the timing, she was in Camelin at the time. It works.
Yeah, it absolutely works. Yeah, actually in my group chat that I have with Allie and Bree from when we were doing Hot Nuance, we still have that group chat in Discord, obviously, and Allie popped in the other day to be like, I finally got confirmation, because she called it. She called it as soon as Asmodean died. She did her little Detective Allie thing and figured out it had to be Graendal. It was intuitively obvious to her. Her and Jordan were on the same wavelength, but she was gloating about having finally reached the part of the book where it's like, and now everyone knows.
And in fairness, in Want Wiki, or in the debates, like, before these books ever came out, right, back after book 5, Graendal was the top candidate, right? There were other candidates, and like people, I forget who the other top one was. I think it was Moridin, but I don't remember for sure.
Right, he's still just the Watcher at that point, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the arguments against him is like, yeah, he's been mentioned, but like he's not really a character yet, and so it's kind of hard to make it intuitively obvious that he's done anything, right? And maybe Slayer was like another big one, but like if you conclude that it had to be Balefire because of the way the words hung on the air, then you're pretty much left with the Forsaken. Yeah. And of the Forsaken, it's got to be either Ishamael or Graendal, and Ishamael doesn't make a lot of sense because he's just come back as Moridin.
Yeah. Yeah, it is maybe not intuitively obvious, but it's
obvious logically
enough
deductible.
If you look. Yeah, exactly. Logically deductible. If you want to put on your detective thinking flowchart hat, yeah, it's there. But I wasn't engaged in the fandom at the time, right? Like I was just off soloing my enjoyment of the books. And yeah, this was the confirmation for me of like, holy crap, it was her. Wow. But also like I was so interested in who killed Asmodean that like I do feel like the first time I listened to this, I immediately knew. Like it took me like just a couple of seconds to be like, no shit, that's who killed Asmodean. Because you do the numbers and it's like there's only one unexplained chosen death to fit there.
Vuji's laying out the Moridin argument. Specifically the words death took him, and Moridin means death, right? This idea that like, but you know, I think it was said, Jordan said at one time, no, that's not what I meant. It's just he died, right? Like that's what the words mean.
Right.
Also, Moridin wouldn't be recognized by Asmodean. There'd be no you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that you definitely was directed at one of the other Forsaken. Like how could it not be? Like the tone is very, you bit, and then you know.
That combined with the Balefire really does like narrow it down to Forsaken. And none of the people who and it couldn't have been like Arangar or Osingar or Moridin because they he wouldn't have recognized them. and then there's like a list of you can account for all the other ones and where they are. And so yeah, it really does. It boils down to like one or two of the Forsaken, and Graendal's by far the best candidate for it. Lanfear was the other big one. That's right, because the idea was that, she got to do a wish because she went through the doorway, and one of her wishes was to get revenge on Asmodean. So she wished to, like, she couldn't leave permanently, but she was able to pop up long enough to Balefire him and then get sucked back into the land of the Finn or whatever, right? Like, so there was some theory on that being, because we knew Lanfear and Moraine weren't dead.
Right, yeah.
And she would have reason to get revenge on him, right? Like, I think I was firmly in the Lanfear category of things, as, like, I think that would have been the best person to kill him, and it would make the most sense of her, like, well, I can't escape, but at least I can use one of my wishes to take out that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And that would also explain because he thought she was dead.
Yeah, there was lots of good candidates, but also there was only one good candidate. But this was the confirmation for those of us that weren't getting it.
And honestly, I didn't get this on. Someone had to point this out to me.
But yeah, she tries to be like, I didn't do anything to get Masana killed. What are you talking about? Because legitimately, she has no idea that she had anything to do with Masana getting killed. Like, that's literally news to her. And Shadowhuron summarizes it briefly. You were the one that handed out the dream spike. Therefore, the buck stops with you when the dream spike is the reason that Masana died.
Right. The reason that her battle was difficult. Which, I don't know. I feel like that stretches it a little bit. I'm like, she should have adapted.
Well, her whole plan hinged on being able to leave the White Tower. Like, that was step number 1 to her plan. We didn't even get to the rest of what she had figured out, right? It all hinged on, well, obviously we draw them out of the tower. Who could anticipate a surprise dream spike?
And you'd think she'd know well enough that you could teleport to the edge of it, walk across it, and then teleport beyond.
Hard to tempt a fast-moving battle to follow that trajectory, though.
Yeah, I guess. Or do you think only Perrin can do that? Because it does sort of knock you down for a second. Do you think it would, like...
I think the Forsaken know how to strengthen their mental will to pass through a barrier like that. They might also have a better way of, like, finding where the dream spike is, right? Instead of wandering around, like, literally physically looking for it, they might be able to just, like, triangulate exactly where it is with, like, a much higher degree of precision.
They know trigonometry. Witches.
Exactly. The long-lost lore.
The real magic of the Age of Legends.
Yeah. Ignore all of the actually, like, fine architecture that people have been building in the 3,000 years since No, they don't know trigonometry at all.
The Ogier knew it. That's what makes them so special. Yeah.
Ogier stonework and all that. It's just knowing how physics works.
Knowing math specifically.
Yeah, specifically just knowing how shapes interact in space.
So Graendal's pleading for a chance, right? And Shadar-Haran says, this opportunity has been given to another. This plays into, I think, what happens with Rand and Lanfear.
Yeah, I was going to say which opportunity and which another.
Okay, so my opportunity is the fact, right? How the hell does Lanfear get into Rand's mind? They're under his control, they're warded, right? The only way we've seen Rand's dreams violated in this way is with Moridin, because they are linked in brains, and so they are able to communicate across minds and distance, because they're basically sharing a body, right? So I think basically Moridin has realized that, and the opportunity is to invade Rand's mind in his dreams.
And it is being given to Sindain.
To Sindain/Lanfear over Graendal.
That makes sense, because all of Graendal's goals have always been to get to Rand one way or another, either get to him through his allies or directly. So yeah, the opportunity being to get to Rand and mess with him, and Lanfear being the obvious candidate for who does get to get that.
And think about what Graendal is doing in the last battle after she comes back as Hessalam.
Dream manipulating the great generals. Okay, so she's forced to take the plan that she was going to try to put together for Rand and be like, I guess I'll do it to the great generals. I guess that works too. That's fine.
That's a thought, yeah. And then the plan for Rand is being given to Lanfear. That's why she's able to fuck with him with his head and get through.
Right, because in fairness, Lanfear is better at dream stuff. So if we're talking about dream attacks, then it's not like we're downgrading by switching to her as our candidate.
Right. However, Graendal is better at head stuff.
Right.
And this is getting in through the head. So, I wonder maybe if that's why Graendal would be slightly better at it, doing the head compulsion.
Well, it's not really like she was in line to do this either, right? She's like, let me pivot real quick. And Shadar-Haran's like, no pivoting for you. But it's not like she was literally about to go do that already.
But her being dead, that makes sense, because that would actually help her a lot if, Rand's like, why am I seeing dead Forsaken in my head?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. She probably could have made this work. She probably could have made a good run at it. But no, instead Shadar-Haran has to be the worst kind of creepy.
Yeah. I shall not forget you, and you shall not forget that which comes next. She opens her eyes wide, and then how does he reach for her? And as we know, the proclivities of Myrddraal and the Dark One is to rape the women, and then one would assume kill her, right?
Yeah. Yeah, some sort of rape and torture to death thing, and she extra deserves it because she's the luscious blonde bimbo, and of course that's the most desirable of all of them. And isn't it great how the sexy one gets her comeuppance here at the end? Right.
So this is the payment for being a slut part of the books.
Blah. Blah.
So one would presume she's raped and killed and comes back as brought back as Hessalam, right? Because Shadar-Haran says, I will not forget you, right? I'll kill you, but I'm not going to forget you. I have your soul. I'm going to bring you back in a body as punishment.
Right. And you won't forget because we're doing a soul transmutation rather than a proper rebirth. So you'll still retain your memories of all the horrible things that happened to you right up to and including the moment of death. But we're going to call you the bitter one when we send you back out onto the battlefield. It's your fault that you're without forgiveness. That's a you problem. We didn't do that to you. You did that to you. Look what you made us do.
I mean, has the Dark One ever been anything but evil?
No. But let this be a lesson to everyone at home. Don't listen to the Dark One.
Don't believe his lies.
The devil being like, hey, I'm going to torture you forever unless you do a whole bunch of stuff, in which case maybe I'll give you life eternal until I hold it out as a threat again. Maybe don't listen to that guy. Maybe that guy sucks.
I once again really love Lycanus trilogy. One of the things I think it does really well is makes you question whether the bad guy is the bad guy, because he lies so well that, like, all these other books are like, why would you listen to the Dark One? He's clearly evil, right? Like, and Lycanus trilogy, you're like, well, I mean, I see his point, and like, free will really is important, right? So like, I suppose I should support him, you know?
That's good. That's good. I prefer a villain that makes me wonder if they're the villain or not, instead of this just like, who could be dumb enough to agree to this?
No, because his whole argument is that, like, if you are locked into predestination, you have no free will, and I'm here to break you out from predestination. But, like, of course, what does that mean? He wants to basically destroy the world.
Nihilism is the real villain.
Right. Yeah. If there's nothing, then there's no predestination. He goes in this whole like, oh, well, you're going to come to me and we're going to fix the timeline. We're going to go back in time and you can fix all your mistakes, which means if you're fixing mistakes, nothing you do now matters. So you can go ahead and murder that whole group of people because you can undo it later. You can Control Z those murders.
Oh, man, that's a good villain.
Yeah.
That's a good villain. If you can Control Z murder, would you murder?
Yeah.
That's a good question for the audience to wrestle with.
For a greater cause.
That's good.
And then if you're trying to stop that person from Control Zing because you think it's actually going to destroy everything, are you actually the evil one because you're stopping the people from undoing all the murders that they've done for the greater good?
That's a brain pretzel.
Right? So I think Lycanus Trilogy does a ambiguous bad guy really well. In a way that's just not what Wheel of Time is asking. That's not the question we're asking here, right? Like, if the Dark One is evil and people are, willing to make that trade-off for power and wealth and jealousy, which turns out height jealousy is apparently a good reason to turn to the Dark One.
So confusing. All right, so next POV.
Yeah, let's go to Perrin.
Perrin in the dream, wrapping up his wishy-washy what's going on with the wolf balance inside me thing. This is the long-awaited final conclusion with Boundless/Gnome. And I think I might have to apologize to you at some point here.
Yeah, why?
We'll get there.
All right. So yeah, Wolf Dream is dying, right? I'm convinced that the Wolf Dream, headcanon, the Wolf Dream is the Dark One's prison, right? So as it deteriorates, we're having all sorts of problems as the seals break down, that sort of thing. It's getting holes in it. It's falling apart.
Swiss cheesing, wibbly wobbling harder than usual.
And Perrin does his whole like, I am the Matrix moment.
There is no spoon.
There is no spoon, and he tries to, make the Matrix in his own image, but of course only God, Rand, the dragon can do that in the last battle. But it's got a little shades of the last battle and Rand sort of creating reality for the Dark One.
Yeah. Perrin is definitely, he's a Taviran. He's a special boy. He's part of the Triad, and he's in the Wolf Dream in his, level 20 wolf self. So it makes sense that he thinks he could do that. Even if he can't, it makes sense that he thinks he could. And
I feel like the other way it mirrors the last battle is that, like, once you've created life, or there's that lifelessness behind their eyes, right? The way Rand takes away choice and people, there's that, like, he's taken away the wolf's choice. He's taken away their natural thread. He's trying to recreate that thread, and it's artificial. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was thinking that specifically Avienda, when Rand looks into the alternate Avienda's eyes, and it's just like, but the violent spark that made her so spicy isn't there. And he's, Perrin looking at Hopper's eyes being like, but there's no hop, right? There's no desire to soar behind these eyes. And yeah, it's a lesson about, it's a lesson that Masana learned against Egwene, is like, you are only so much in the face of the world itself. You can only push water uphill in a sieve so far.
And in that moment, Perrin realizes we all have our limits.
Really? He didn't know that before? We haven't heard him talking about that before? You're so right. That's so profound. Good job, Perrin.
And I feel like we did that with Rand when he tried to create the platform in the skimming world. When he he created as big as the courtyard, and he tries to expand it out, and it goes translucent, and he brings it back to courtyard side, and he's like, we have our limits. I don't know if that was self-imposed because that's how big I thought of it as first, or if that's actually like about how much my power can go in. But that, like, we have our limits thing is there. Same thing with gateways, right? Everyone has their limits as how big they can make a gateway. And those limits seem to exist irrespective of strength or, talent or anything like that.
Right, or like we do have that one kinswoman whose talent is not having really limits on her ability to shield someone. She can shield Nynaeve, right? Normally there's a limit, but like her talent is not having a limit. I also think it's hilarious that Perrin thinks there are no limits. Seek boundless limits. Boundless. Limits. Limitless. Boundless. Bounds. Just like, okay. So there's limits. And we're going to go to a guy whose name literally means the opposite of that for an explanation. Cool.
I don't know if that was just a clever piece of writing or if that was intended from the beginning.
I think it's an accident. It's not quite funny enough to feel deliberate. Maybe it's deliberate.
And in this moment, Perrin has no idea that Boundless the wolf and Gnome the wolf brother are the same person.
Yes, that is a big part of what Hopper could have explained to speedrun this whole thing. It's just that is a man like you, or a wolf brother like you, just different.
And you know, and Perrin knows where Boundless is. He's just a wolf in the wolf dream that he's encountered many times, seems to be.
But always in a certain area. He's always geographically located around this part of the world. He's also weirdly stuck on the image of Perrin as a bull trampling a stag more than the other wolves, and I wonder if that's a bit of his human humor sticking through, that he's just a little bit more stuck on the absurdity of it, whereas the wolves are a little bit more like prone to moving on, but he's just got that human tendency to be like, hey, remember that time?
So here's my question. Is Gnome in the wolf dream permanently?
As in dead?
Yeah.
I was wondering that. Is Gnome actually living wild man style in an old abandoned wolf den and just eating raw fish as a human and sleeping as much as he can? Or has he actually died and awoken here permanently?
Because he says, you know, Perrin worried that man would die quickly, but he seemed alive and well, alive at least. Perrin couldn't judge much about his wellness from how the man looked in the wolf dream. And it seems there that he's able to tell that a wolf that's alive and projecting versus a wolf that is actually dead in the wolf dream. But it's hard, you know, I don't think there's any real way for him to tell the difference.
Yeah, there's no evidence anywhere else in the... I mean, I guess that's not true. There are times when he says that he knows there's wolves alive and dead who are, like, joining in with a moment of mourning or a moment of triumph. Like, he does have that sense, but I think I've always assumed it was more just that he could tell there's so many wolves that clearly some of them have to be ghosts because there's just too many, like, responding.
And we see them form up on the last battle, right? When when Terlalai Runriad sort of merges with the real world, you have ghost wolves.
Yeah, so there's a suggestion that he can tell the difference between a living and a dead wolf in the dream, but I don't know if it's clear enough on the page for me to be confident that he's right about reading a wolf brother, because he's literally never interacted with another wolf brother. He will interact with Longtooth in the dream during the last battle, but I believe that this is the first time he's ever talked to a wolf brother in the dream and known it. Obviously, Gnome has been here before, but there's no other wolf brothers. Like, how would he even know?
Because Elias avoids the dream.
Exactly. He shows up to Perrin in the last battle because it's the last extreme of communication. But I could also see, you know, maybe Gnome is just living in the woods, like Julie of the Wolves style, you know, just living with a wolf pack, and they just accept him as a weird wolf. And they have a better time talking to him and interacting with him at night, but, like, they're fine keeping his human body alive just because he's a member of the pack. Like, maybe that's going on. Hard to say. Headcanon at will.
Yes. And what has followed is probably the biggest retroactive character assassination I think Sanderson ever engaged in.
Yeah, and that's why I have to apologize to you, because I've been insisting that this is not what you've been saying it is. And on the page, I'm going to have to own that I've been misinterpreting this, and you've been having a far more correct read on how this little story got told. But I appreciate you framing it as character assassination, because I do not think that this is really who Simeon was in Jordan's writing.
Agreed. Yeah. When you look back at that paragraph, he's, like, very caring for Perrin. He helps Perrin hide his eyes. He does, like, he is very much this kind, gentle man. And I know that you could be making a point about, like, in private, they're one way, and in public, they're another way. But, like, it's implied here that the anger and the violence is against him for having the golden eyes and being a wolf brother. And, like, that person would in no way have engaged with Perrin the way he did back in book, 3.
I mean, I don't know that I got that he was enraged about the golden eyes from this.
Okay, that's fair. It could be something else.
Yeah, because what I got from this was that their father was a violent and abusive man that beat their mother, and that then as adults, Simeon was exhibiting that same rage. But I didn't see anything about what was triggering it or who it was directed at, just that, like, oh, that rage that our father was displaying is being mirrored in my brother, and it's too much.
Yeah, I don't see anything about the dad. I don't know where you're getting any like the dad is.
A large, stout man, half drunk, beating a pretty woman. That's in the first paragraph. And then kept sending images, one after another. A grave, a smaller grave beside it, as if for a child. To me, that says that he got married, and then his wife died, and his child died. Like, to me, it reads that the first paragraph is the pain of his childhood, and the second paragraph is the pain of his young adulthood. And it's like, nothing, it never ended. And then somewhere around, 20, 25, his eyes went gold, and he was like, there's an escape. That was how I read it. But I do think that Simeon is the second man being enraged, and it's being like, oh, the cycle of our family's trauma never ends. It's just going to be this over and over.
I read that those as the same man. That he's talking about this. Because if you look at his brother is described as a large, stout man with a wide mouth and no chin.
Well, yeah, because he looks like his dad. I mean, I don't know. The beating a pretty woman part just feels like a domestic violence scene as through the eyes of a child. That's just how that's always read to me, is him watching his father beat his mother and having just his life start out in a place of fear and terror. But yeah, I mean, is the grave with the smaller grave beside it his mother and a sibling that got lost, or is it his wife and a child? I don't know who else it would be, but either way, small grave beside a large grave suggests to me like very tragic, rapid succession of death.
Yeah, I mean, I read that. The way I read it is that Siemon beat his wife and child to death and continued to beat Gnome.
That's a way worse character assassination.
That's what I'm saying. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I prefer my interpretation.
Right, because you have this first bit in the beginning, right? Pain, sadness, dying crops, right? So you have basically hard economic times. So a large, stout man, I'm assuming this is his brother, beating a pretty woman, his brother beating his wife. And then there's these images, right? One after another. A grave. His wife dies. A smaller grave. His child dies. Why is the fire getting larger? It's not because of more people. And then a man, Gnome's brother, still, I believe, referencing that same man, a large, stout man. Like, I don't think this is a different man.
Oh, I think it is. Because there's a large, stout man, and then there's a man. Not the same man. Not the same man, but older. It seems to me like there's two different men. To me, it seems like his life has been nothing but pain from the jump. Like, he was born into a family, and then the Dust Bowl happened, and then his father became an alcoholic and beat his wife, his Gnome's mother. And to me, it just reads like he's never had a happy time in his life until he found the wolves. There was no happy childhood for him to, like, yearn for.
I kind of just assumed Siemon was an older brother who basically raised him and was beating him the whole time.
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't agree. I think my headcanon makes more sense. But sound off in the comments. Who's right? There is a definitive answer, definitely. Right. Vote on the truth.
No, there's not. No, so I see now why we've had different interpretations of these events, but because it's seen very weirdly through the eyes of somebody through somebody else.
And it's all flavored by trauma.
Yeah, and doesn't match our experience of those people at all.
It's confusing. But the takeaway is that Perrin is able to understand that for Gnome, this was the balance. This was the choice. This was peace. And that's all that, ultimately matters, is that Perrin understands that peace is not a thing that's going to run away from you. It's a thing that you run towards in this regard.
Yeah, sorry. I'm struggling even with just this characterization of him, because he is very kind to Perrin and brings him his meals and
Gnome hadn't been in the cage for that long because it's not a sustainable place to keep him. So it's not like Simeon just last week changed all of a sudden, right? Like, it seems like he's been a kindly person. I imagine he just had some anger issues as a younger man and scared Gnome. Maybe he was a significantly older brother and was kind of stepping in as the father figure and flipping out. One particular instance was enough to convince Gnome that the cycle will never change, even though Simeon was really just, had a headache and stubbed his toe and was behind on the electric bills. And it wasn't that, but trauma triggers are trauma triggers. Because yeah, Simeon seems chill, self-effacing, humble, not dangerous. Exactly, Lillian. Scary experiences stick in the head so much harder. And we don't get given an age difference between the brothers, but I could totally imagine a big gap between them. The dynamic there could totally be that. Again, I really don't think that Gnome chose the wolf because of a short period in his life.
Right. One would assume this was abuse from a young age.
Otherwise, why would he give up on humanity all the way, right? Like, Perrin asks, what do you think of the world of men? And it is nothing but misery. Like, I don't think that he let one instance, like, color his whole life. I think it was just a never-ending stream of misery.
But the other thing, the other thing I was thinking is just, like, the dying crops would be, like, recent because that would be the climate change that happened, like, the year before.
Crop failures happen all the time. Rand and Matt even mention it happening in their childhoods. Like, that's a normal part of agriculture.
That's just someone whose, like, finances have collapsed.
Yeah, or like maybe a war swept through, or a minor border skirmish that didn't even make it to the capital but was enough to torch the field that year, or, blight got brought in or something.
Yeah, Gilladon isn't exactly the most stable place.
Very, very back and forth with the warring and the raiding and all of that. And Vuji brings up a point I wanted to mention. This is kind of like, and you could see this easily as an analogy for the neurodivergent experience of being surrounded by neurotypical people and having no room for difference. I was thinking of particularly Perrin's experience at the end of, like, hearing Boundless say, the wolf is peace. And then Perrin being able to relax into that, and how much it's like, when you're completely masked and completely distressed, when you're in a cage being expected to be a human, you look awful. Right? You are cranky, you are angry, you are getting sent to psychiatric hospitals, you are being put on the wrong medications. If you get to find what gives you peace, if you get to obsess about Wheel of Time and not go to school and whatever other thing it is, and then you get to just be in the woods, be a wolf, that is peace. And then you look way chiller and you're way more mellow and you're way more happy. And that's Perrin not needing to go run away into the woods, right? He doesn't need to, like, have a weighted blanket and ear defenders, but understanding that there are accommodations that will work for him and relaxing into what does make him feel good is the key. This is the unmasking key, is that you do what makes you feel good, not what makes the other person feel good. You just mimic the feeling of them being good by whatever means that gets you there. That was what it was making me think of.
Mm-hmm. No, I was thinking about the autism, just the balance of, like, how do you find, like, how much you interact with people versus how much you value your peace, and everyone has a slightly different balance there, right? Like, I think it all feeds into that for sure.
Yeah. And we've used Perrin as a vehicle for understanding the autistic experience before, with the hyper empathy and the low social skills and the hyper smell sensitivity and, like,
taking things literal.
Yeah. And even the ADHD, like, overlap with being multi-track in some ways and really hyper focused tunneled in other ways. Like, Perrin has been a vehicle for this a lot of times. So I'm not super shocked that this massive personal revelation of his should fit so well into that cosmology of analogies.
Yeah, I think Simone might actually not be not big dude.
He's a froggy looking dude.
Yeah, there we go. There was nothing. Gnome lifted his head and stared at them silently, without expression. There was nothing about him to suggest he was Simone's brother. He had a chin for one thing, and he was a big man with heavy shoulders.
Oh. Okay, so Simeon is distinctly not a big man with heavy shoulders. Notably not that. So really cannot be the first man in the set of memories.
Yeah, so that really invalidates. But God damn it, now I have to apologize to you. Fuck! Well, I'm glad I did that research, because I wanted to go back and look at the Dragon Reborn and see, like, what I could about Simone and how he was acting. So
no, I'm glad you went back and read that, because that would have been a good passage to bring up and be like, okay, like, how do these work? Is this character assassination? What's going on? What if the reason that the man was beating up the woman was because they're half siblings? Like, he was beating up their mother because he knew that he was not the father of the younger child or something.
And the reason Gnome's brother is enraged is because the child and the woman died, right? Not because of anything Gnome did.
I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been another crop failure. It could have been Gnome being unable to help with starting up the bar, the tavern. Like, I have a feeling that any number of things that could have set him off would have made Gnome just be like, that's it. We're done. I can't with this.
Okay, so, all right. I am now headcanoning that it's his father who was the enraged large man who did the beating. And the only reason that Gnome's brother was enraged was because of the things this large man did to his family. And that at no point are we saying, despite everything I read online that says no, that Simon was the one who was beating him, that he was enraged because he was beaten, not because he was beating him.
Yeah, I think the internet's wrong. I think I'm right.
I'm gonna have to. You're right. You've convinced me. That took a lot of side reading and a lot of cross referencing. But yeah, I agree. I think that his father would make sense. It's a large man because Gnome's father would be large like Gnome. And that doesn't change who Siamon is from the character we met. He could still be angry about the damage Gnome's father caused without being the one who was beating Gnome.
Yeah. Yeah, because if Gnome is enough traumatized, it doesn't matter what Simeon's intentions were with that little explosion. It's enough. Particularly if it took him a while to get his anger management issues under control. If he had a very angry 20s and then mellowed out in his 30s, that could have been enough for Gnome to be like, you're never going to change, dude. And then Simeon, is well into his 30s, maybe even into his 40s by the time Perrin meets him and is actually chilling out. And Gnome's just like, no, never. I'm not trusting you. Yeah, it's a sad tale. I mean, Boundless is having a good time, but it is a sad story of a person who literally found more peace by cutting off their family, going totally no contact with their family and running away to the woods and just living their own best life with no friends but other wolves. Happy for him now, but it's tragic.
And then we get sort of the cathartic moment with Perrin, right? The image of young Bull, the wolf and Perrin the man, standing beside one another atop a hill, their scents the same. He sent that image outward as powerfully as he could, to Boundless, to the wolves nearby, to anyone who will listen. So at that moment, that's his balance. He is equally balanced between the wolf and the human. They are both him. Neither one is invading the other or taking over the other. In the same way that Rand has found his balance between LTT, Louis Theron Telamon, and, Rand the farmer, Perrin has found his balance between the wolf and himself.
Yeah, he's stopped fighting the center of gravity that has been pulling at him this whole time. He's just like, no, that center of gravity is where my balance is, and I'm here now, and I'm going to stop being annoying every time I meet every other wolf and be all, no, I'm not this, I'm not that.
And in the same way that Matt fully embraces his luck with his missing eye, when he's like, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about my eye, I'm just lucky.
Yeah, Matt's balance with his voices in his head was always easy for him. His balance with his luck is what he really struggles with. But yeah, Matt has learned luck works better when you don't look at it anyway.
Because remember, what about my damn luck? Not really understanding what was making him lucky.
Right. Yeah, and still needing to have certain artifacts. But then, in the Tower of Genji, he learned that he can just have luck on sheer gumption. He doesn't need dice. Speaking of dice, shall we head over to Olver and Talmanis?
I believe it's time to toss the dice.
Toviandi Setovias again!
Yeah. Nice. Well done.
The audiobooks are consistent about that among so many pronunciations that vary. They got that one pretty consistent.
I feel like that's hard enough that they had to practice it together as opposed to the names where they just Dean, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, Oliver rolls his last roll, and of course it's all black dots, which I assume is the only way to win, is to get this incredibly lucky, very unlikely throw at just the right moment when the whole rest of the game has been going your way.
Well, that's the thing, though, is I think that there is no way to win. I mean, that's why Talmanis is so confused, is that there is no way to win. He's like, we have to have counted wrong. We have to have done one of our moves wrong. There's literally no way to win. I assume that means that even rolling nat 20s the whole way wouldn't win.
I think it's just one of those 1 in a million, statistically very, very unlikely to win situations.
That is the only way to square it with Matt's actual luck, though. That is true.
It's 1 in a million chance is good odds for him.
Okay, Nano, fair. You're fair. That's totally fair. It's statistically very unlikely to roll 20 20s. But if you were to...
Right. Kind of like shuffling a deck to reshuffle it back to just ace through king.
Statistically possible, but it's never going to happen.
Right. And when I mean never going to happen, I mean you can shuffle a deck more ways than there are atoms in the observable universe, right? Like, it's never going to happen, ever, unless you have some statistical luck or you're cheating.
Right. And in this case, this is one of those things where Thomas is like, you don't reshuffle a deck back together. That's simply not, no. But like empirically, yes, because Matt is the deus ex machina that makes that sort of statistical anomaly possible.
All right, so here's my theory. Olver is actually Matt's good luck charm.
I've kind of thought this before too. If Olver hadn't been playing, the whole rescue might not have worked.
Right. Because I'm trying to think, like, when does he pick up Olver? Let's see. First appearance, Lord of Chaos, early Lord of Chaos. Doesn't match up at all with Matt's luck. In no way is this it's not a good theory whatsoever. But
I don't care.
It's
okay. It's my headcanon is less that Olver is the good luck charm, but the fact that Olver, and to a certain extent Talmanes, are playing snakes and foxes is like it's like an amplifier of what Matt is doing. Like, his people are playing the game on the outside while he's playing the game on the inside. And there is a metaphysical resonance amplification kind of thing there.
Somehow a link between the two. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way that there's a link between Rand and the battles, right? When he's up in the sky fighting Moridin, right? There's some...
I mean, that's why they win, right? It's because they are tied to Matt. I have a hard time imagining that's not a two-way street. Ha! It's
Jumanji.
It's Jumanji.
What year is it? Matt come out with Tom, Moraine. Like, Moraine in this case would be Robin Williams, right? Because she's in there for a while, and they have to go in and get her back out again.
Okay, now I want Robin Williams playing an Eyes to Die.
Uh-huh.
I just like Robin Williams doing his very best Moraine impression and then being unable to hold character for more than like 3 seconds because he's Robin Williams.
Robin Williams as Varen.
Oh my God. Robin Williams would have made an amazing Varen. Mrs. Doubtfire's to die.
Right.
Like, Doubtfire's to die. God, that would have been amazing.
So yeah, we're in Oliver's head, and he's written like a lot of the way Sanderson writes children, right? Like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I started reading this. It was like, it was, and I've read, if you've read Starsight, Sanderson's sort of young adult. He's written a couple of young adult books, right? And like, he's written
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
The Librarians of Alcatraz series, the Alcatraz series, which is all about like a kid fighting evil librarians, right? And he's also written a space-based children's series, which isn't technically Cosmere, but it is. The magic system is clearly based around the Cosmere magic system. He just couldn't find a way to include it in the canon. Oh yeah, and then he wrote a superhero trilogy called with Steelheart. I forgot about that as well. So he's written a lot of like more kids books, just sort of on the side. Like, I wouldn't say kids books, young adult, very much more young adult fiction.
Where you're in the head of a person who's transitioning from kid to young adult and going through that whole like arc thing. And so Olver here is recognizable from that. I like it. He's cute. He's cute.
And if anything, I'd say Sanderson's writing style fits young adult better than adult, because there is just like less subtlety to it. It is just more straightforward in a way that I feel like fits a young adult style. I almost prefer his young adult books to his Stormlight Archive, right? Not necessarily because they're better, but because like his writing style fits that genre, I think, really well.
Yeah, I will say that when I read Mistborn Era 1, it definitely felt way more young adult to me than adult, which is like, I love I reread my young adult books from childhood that I kept. Like, I have a very soft spot in my heart for the young adult genre. And if you imagine his books are young adult, then it does kind of fit better of the, whole 4 that I've read. Not including the Wheel of Time books, because he wrote those in conjunction with Jordan. It's not the same.
It's a fun little story he's telling himself.
But yeah, I like being in Olver's head. I think that what's going on inside matches who he is on the outside. I very much can believe this is the character I've been observing since book 6.
Right, the idea that he's going after the Shido, that he's learning to fight because he wants to go after the Shido who killed his father, and like he's going to be the leader, he's going to be the next Matt. Matt's going to come along on his adventures, right? This is very much like wanting to be like your father. Like he sees Matt as this ideal that he wants to become. Right, that's why he does all the womenizing. That's why he does learning to fight. But it's also he has this external thing, which is finding the Shido who killed his father, and his plan, which is to go into the Snakes and Foxes, ask them questions, find out who it is, and get his revenge.
Yeah, he is very much imitating Matt in mannerisms, in humor, in wild-ass decisions to go face gods with nothing but a stick and a cocky sense of confidence, right? He's consciously aping Matt because he knows he wants to do things that are as epic and impressive as what he sees Matt doing. I mean, even down to the humor. He's even imitating Matt's sense of like casual, like, well, he's going to owe me at some point, but he'd better be nice. Otherwise I'll leave him behind. Like that is so Matt's style of humor, but like at a child's speed. One imagines Matt was a lot like this as a child.
I mean, that's kind of why he picked up Olver in the first place, right? Because it reminds of him of himself a little bit. That sort of...
Well, more it was because Olver was going to get hit by a noble.
Yeah. But putting himself in that situation to get in trouble, I think, is where Matt sees himself.
Little bit. But then Olver was also like, I am a Velcro orphan, and you can't get rid of me. And Matt accepted it.
So he wins the game, right? And is with the typical, well, of course I did, right? Like, that's just a matter of time.
Yeah, why would he play if it couldn't be won? But he's glad that he won because he was starting to think it wasn't winnable. And I'm just like, and this is why he's going to do things that actually rival Matt in his life. Because he had this moment of thinking, it's not possible. It is possible. He's going to never give up. This is the stuff that heroes are made from, right? Like heroes of the Horn. This is that energy. He's going to be Ta'veren on sheer gumption.
And having this experience early on can vaccinate you against failure.
Yeah, it's formative.
Yeah, it's a formative success where you're like, well, if I just keep trying, eventually I'll succeed. And if you fail at multiple things, he's like, yeah, but remember that time that I won the game that couldn't be won?
Right, exactly. This sort of thing can become very toxic if you get given too much proof that you're a special boy, that the universe is looking out for you. Like, this can be very toxic when someone takes it too seriously. But in this world where Ta'veren's a real thing and Matt's your actual friend, it's probably just going to make him a pretty epic, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms or whatever.
Matt and Jane Farstrider and Barriga and he's had a few heroes of legend, not to mention the entire band of the Red Hand raising him up.
Yeah, he's going to assume that that is how normal people behave, and he will conduct himself accordingly and have an epic reputation as a result, and probably either turns out he is a hero of the Horn other than God O'Kane, or he'll get inducted into it, or he'll just, live in stories that outlast all the Ta'veren boys in terms of detail and accuracy.
Or he turns into a horrendous murderer, just slaughtering Aiel wholesale, trying to find the one who killed his father. And we have a, hero to villain's origin story.
Just the butcher of Ruidian and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's easy to imagine this going in a very toxic direction, but I choose to believe that he has a heart of gold because he was raised by Matt. So it's going to be
totally.
fine.
No, I'm more thinking about it from a storytelling point of view, not what Olver would actually become.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I love this little callback. Oliver's favorite color is red. So when he sees the red wax seal on Varen's letter, he grabs it, right? Because remember, the red coat was always a big thing.
I never thought about how red is kind of his color.
Red's totally his color, right?
I never thought about that.
He stops and looks like, that's the whole thing when they're looking for him in Ebu Dar. Matt stops at everything red and is like, have you seen a boy in a red coat? Because there's red balloons or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, balloons, a thing that exists in this world. There's 99 of them.
I was going to say there were 99 red balloons.
Yeah, I forgot that it was his favorite color, but I thought it was interesting that he identifies it as being the color of blood, given, the large quantities of blood that are starting to be spilled right about then as the Trollocs come out of the Waygate.
There is that, yes.
The pattern is all right, look, the bloodletting has begun. Can we get some backup now?
I mean, agent of the pattern, Oliver, right? Between blowing of the horn and,
Yeah,
this.
Totally. And I love that part of the reason why this happens is because he's doing a very Amelia, Bedelia, autistic, like, I'm following the rules. And I was told that if there's a letter, you're supposed to open it. And Matt's being rude. And I'm going to be the better man than Matt because Satala taught me the rules. And I just love that, like, child logic. It's so believable. It is so believable child logic. And that is how the pattern is able to just slide on in there and get him to crack the seal. And yeah, he can read it good enough to be like, Tamanis,
this needs an adult.
Other dad, I need an adult. I think I just came across some very serious information. Oh my God, Marzipan, you're so right. Post-series, Aiel are the police because the dragon's peas. So Olver's going to be full on ACAP.
Rebel without a cause.
Oh no. So yeah, Tomanes comes over and proving that he is both Olver's dad and Matt's husband. He takes very little convincing now that the seal's been broken. He like reads it like a boy like stealing a cookie, but like he's so prim and proper and he always follows the rules and he has 1,000 pairs of boots, but like it's right there. It's right there. And Olver's saying that it's important. And like, surely Matt will understand.
Right. And I can read it. And if it's not important, then I can close it back up. And, Matt never has to know that we read it. And if it is important, then I can do something about it. And of course, it's important.
And then he reads it. He drops multiple F-bombs and runs out of the tent without, like, he drops the letter so that Olver can read it to the audience. But like, he goes from guilty to oh shit, oh fuck, oh holy shit, forking bald.
Holy shit, that Aes Sedai read Matt wrong. Fuck.
Yeah, of all the times for an Aes Sedai to be wrong. Oh my God.
No, and you get her logic, right? This idea that she believes that Matt's curiosity will overwhelm his need. He'll need to find out what's in the letter, but it'll delay him a couple of days. That if she gets the oath rod and comes back, she can just, I don't know why she doesn't want him to open the letter anyway, right? Like, why would she come back and stop him? Wouldn't she just want the letter to be opened and they'd find out about the Trolloc invasion? Either way.
Yeah, why does she not want him to what does she want to be the one that breaks the news about the Waygate to Elaine? Is she like, this is Aes Sedai business and it's a backup to have a man communicate about it?
Right, like it's like that's such a weird backup. It's like, why not send that letter to Elaine? Why not just send the letter to Elaine and say, hey, because she can't send the letter until after she's poisoned herself, because that's a betrayal.
Oh, because of her. Okay. She can't just say, read this letter while I'm standing here, because that would be a betrayal. She has to say, you can't open this until I'm definitely dead. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to hand it over.
Right.
There we go.
Or I can come back and take it from you if I can't, free myself.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So I think the Dark Oath explains the weird, long thing.
Yeah. So do you want to read the whole letter, or should I read the letter because it's Varen?
Yeah, I think you should read it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Because it's juicy. All right. Matrim, if you are opening this, then I am dead. I had planned to return and release you of your oath in a single day. There are many potential complications to my next task, however, and a large chance that I will not survive. I needed to know that I'd left someone behind who could see this work done. Fortunately, if there's one thing I believe I can rely upon, it is your curiosity. I suspect you lasted a few days before opening this letter, which is long enough for me to have returned if I were going to. Therefore, this task falls upon you. There is a waygate in Caemlyn. It is guarded, barricaded, and thought secure. It is not. An enormous force of Shadowspawn moves through the ways toward Caemlyn. I do not know when they left exactly, but there should be time to stop them. You must reach the Queen and persuade her to destroy the waygate. It can be done. Walling it up will not suffice. If you cannot destroy it, the Queen must bring all of her forces to bear upon guarding the location. If you fail in this, I fear Caemlyn will be lost before the month is out. Sincerely, Varen Mathwin. That was about a month ago that she handed it over.
Yeah, I'd say almost exactly a month ago, considering the Caemlyn's on fire, which means the invasion has happened already.
As of tonight, the night that he opened it.
Yeah. And one would say it already happened before it was like that's the thing that forced Olver to open it, is that the invasion actually happened. Because because we're talking literally seconds since Olver, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes since he's opened it. And if Caelan's already on fire and the smoke is already visible, they came out of the waygate before he opened up that letter.
Yeah, I kind of imagine that him seeing that drop of quote-unquote blood in the wax is like, the streets of Caemlyn are starting to run with blood. So at this point, we can now bend the rules of Ta'Veren enough to get this darn letter into somebody's hands. And yeah, Talmanes bails out of there without thought for Olver or anything because his first thought is the dragons, right? Talmanes has now latched on to the mission that will define him for the rest of the series, and that is finding, protecting, using, and ultimately potentially scuttling the dragons.
And, I have a lot of confusion about this because, like, does the letter actually do anything other than, I guess it sends Talmanes into the city? But, like, I think with fire, he would have probably gone on in anyway.
Yeah, I probably sped them up by a whole half an hour, tops. So it doesn't really do anything. So I guess it doesn't really matter that Olver found it. But maybe, again, that's why the letter could be opened. That's why, like, Matt's prohibition on keeping the letter sealed is kind of over at a metaphysical level because, like, it's too late, right? Like, there's no reason for it not to be opened.
I just find the whole letter thing to be kind of a waste of plot. Like, it feels very pointless. It feels... I don't like this aspect of one, it's Varen making a mistake.
That sucks. Varen screwed up.
Which just feels kind of dumb. Like, just, I don't understand how Matt works. And then, the fact that it doesn't really make a difference. It's not like they're able to get there and wall it up in time. Yeah, I find it to be a frustrating plot point.
It would have been nice if it led anywhere.
Yeah.
It leads somewhere, but that somewhere is like, and we're too late. But I guess that just happens.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I guess you're trying to show that, like, the light isn't super well coordinated and we can still make mistakes and...
the best laid plans of Aes Sedai and mice.
Right. But, yeah. No, not my favorite. Not my favorite little plot point. From start to finish, it's hard to really feel like it's doing anything other than, like, making our characters look a little more incompetent than they are.
Well, what I do like about it from a storytelling perspective is that it was a chance to get a leg up on the Dark One, but instead it's putting us a step back. And that does add a flavor of anxiety and tension to the start of that plot for the next book, which is very cool. Having what should have been an advantage get thwarted and turned into a liability does make for more interesting challenges for our heroes to navigate. So there's that.
I just would have liked to see Matt's luck do something to cause him to open it soon enough that he would get the warning.
Yeah, but then Talmanes couldn't be a badass who fights a losing battle and wins anyway. Best I got.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get why for the plot, like, they want Caemlyn to go down, but then what's the point of the warning in the first place?
To just make you realize how many things have to go right, and also the fact that some things can go wrong and you'll still win. Maybe it's a way of inoculating us against the idea that everything has to go right. And that if one little thing goes wrong, it all falls apart. No. Sometimes stuff goes wrong and we still prevail in the end.
We still can do it. Okay.
I don't know.
I'm willing.
I'm scrambling.
Yeah, but, I'll accept your scramble. It's a nice little, brunch scramble.
Just a little omelet. It was supposed to be sunny side up, but then it broke, so I just, turned it into a scramble. Olver gathers his courage, gets the knife that he stole from the quartermaster, which I think is silly. I think that's got to be an artifact of his street urchin days, because I feel like as the child of the Red Band, he could have just asked for a dagger from the quartermaster and been given one.
Isn't Matt... I thought there was a whole thing where Matt was taking away his daggers. He keep getting caught with them, and they keep getting taken away.
What? When's that?
I think I kind of assumed when Avienda took his knives away that he wasn't supposed to have knives, and that's why he was, would be then stealing them.
In this world, I'm pretty sure that 10-year-olds are considered responsible enough to have a belt knife.
Right. Because, like, for most of history, a belt knife was just like a fork. Like, that's how you ate food.
Yeah. And, like, even, up until very recently, kids having a pocket knife is, like, a pretty standard part of growing up. Eventually, your parents are somewhere between the ages of, like, 6 and 12. They're like, here's a pocket knife. You should have one of these.
I carried a pocket knife through, like, high school, and which, weird. Now that I think back on that, I'm like, I had a knife on me all through high school.
Yeah, lots of people our age did is very normal. My husband talks about going to school in a rural area where it was very normal for the older boys to have their hunting rifles in their cars that they parked at school because they were going to go hunting after school. They were going to head up and go deer hunting. And no one thought it was weird that they were bringing guns on campus because, like, yeah.
Pre-Columbine, that we didn't really think about that very much. Like, the idea of shooting up a school was, crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The concept of that was just like, I mean, why would that be a thing? But yeah, same thing with knives. It's just so normal to carry this basic tool. It's like a lighter and a water bottle. I mean, if you think about, like, sometimes I like to imagine, like, one of our Neolithic ancestors, shows up. Like, what about my reality do they recognize and what do they not recognize? Well, a water bottle, a lighter, and a knife, those things all make sense. And every time I leave my house, I have those three things somewhere in the car on me. Like, they would recognize that. Some things don't change.
The lighter might be a little like magic to them.
But I mean, like flint and steel, or not flint and steel, flint and iron pyrite.
Right.
But being able to make fire, right? Like a lighter is obviously magic technology, but just like, a way to carry water, a way to make fire, and a way to manipulate the environment to be a whole lot of different ways, because knives. Hats, probably also pretty recognizable, but
Right.
Fancy shoes? Nah, maybe not so much.
Guess what I didn't wear when I went out to the beach the other day?
Shoes.
No, the hat.
Oh.
So I am very bald right now. So the skin on my head is peeling because I burned the shit out of it. Didn't wear sunscreen. Didn't wear a hat. Just was out there. I'm like, it's early. Surely the sun isn't that high in the sky yet.
Dude, no, it's after Beltane, which means that between now and, basically from now until summer solstice and then as many weeks on the other side, it's the bright time of year. This is the brightest time of year. The sun is reaching into its top of its height. It is worth being all kinds of scared of the sun right now. Even though it's spring, quote unquote, we're after Beltane. Solstice is only 5 weeks away. Like, we are in the top 12 brightest, sharpest weeks of the year. So, and the legend, we don't even have angry sun.
What's angry sun?
Australia. Australia's sun is angrier than ours for reasons.
I love looking at the population density of Australia and being like, oh, that's uninhabitable except for, the coast. Literally.
Yeah, no, I love my temperate coastal rainforest that allows me to dart from puddle of shade to puddle of shade.
Yeah, I worry about global, currents being disrupted that will cause places like Pacific Northwest and England to become very, very cold.
We're on a completely different system than the AMOC. The Atlantic Mid-Ocean Current freezing Europe is going to give us a different series of cascading events. It's not going to be the same.
True.
Yeah, very different oceans, very different currents. But yes, the collapse of the AMOC and what's going to happen to England and the rest of Northern Europe won't not have an effect here.
Right.
It'll just be different.
Well, and I can just see something, like, we don't know. So once sea currents start getting disrupted, bad things.
It's going to be actually relatively chill here. I've seen this because we have the cold upwelling along our coast, and the ocean takes about 10,000 years to overturn. If a single molecule of water runs the whole gamut, it takes about 10,000 years. So we will be one of those places where the ancient cold water that hasn't yet been affected by climate change continues to upwell and meet with the modern atmosphere and absorb carbon dioxide and heat. And we are going to have some of the slowest changing ocean here, unless the Pacific's gyres change, which again, it's the Pacific Ocean. It's very big. Yeah, there's a reason why most projected maps of climate change differences are pretty small magnitude in the Pacific Northwest. It's a lot to do with the way that the wind pushes off the surface water and then cold water comes up, and that water hasn't been in contact with the atmosphere since before we figured out agriculture. So
that kind of reminds me of how it takes between 10,000 and 170,000 years for light to escape the sun.
Yeah.
Right? Which is it's moving at light speed. Yeah, but it's moving
through the sun.
The sun, which is so dense that the light keeps getting absorbed and re-emitted. So it essentially is on a random walk in a random direction. And the sun's huge. And so to escape that, it takes it, a photon emitted in the center of the sun takes up to, 170,000 years to escape.
And then a mere 8 minutes to get to us and cause skin cancer.
Right.
But
And burn the shit out of the top of my head, which is how we started on all of this. Yeah. Shall we talk about Barriga?
yeah, or Barriga, however you
Barriga?
say that. It's a one-off character, but man, does he have a slapping introduction for the Red-Veiled Aiel.
And this is not necessarily his introduction, though.
What? Really?
He was mentioned in the prologue as a merchant, because the prologue is that tower that's overrun.
I was wondering about this connection and I didn't do my homework. Oh, I'm so glad you did our homework.
Yeah. So in the prologue of this book, the tower that's overrun, we have that whole scene where he, his son stays and he's proud of him and he has the whole,
Heath Tower.
Heath Tower. Yes. He's presented with his adulthood and things. And in that section, he says, this merchant is coming to trade.
This is right, because when the merchant says I was trying to get to Heath Tower, I'm like, isn't that the tower? It is. Okay, so we're jumping all the way back to the prologue and say, remember that wagon train? Yeah, that wagon train's having a time.
Yes.
A bad time.
So this brings us full circle back to the prologue.
Oh, cool. I was like vaguely sure, but I hadn't bothered to confirm it. So I'm glad to have that confirmed.
Yeah, I looked up Barriga and I was like, where is he? And it's like mentioned in the prologue. And I was like, oh, nice. He's not in the prologue.
So he only exists in this book.
Yes.
And we only see him once, but he was mentioned in the prologue. Okay.
He was mentioned. Yeah. So the Encyclopedia Watt has both a chronology section and a mentioned section. So chronology means they are in the book in that chapter. Mentioned sections means they are mentioned by another character in that chapter. And so he has a mention in the prologue, but he appears in the epilogue.
Okay. Cool. And yeah, he functions to, first of all, remind us of the fact that the Borderlands are being overrun in general, and also to introduce the Red-Veiled Aiel.
The Red-Veiled Aiel, which I think is one of the coolest ideas that, I don't know if Sanderson came up with it, but this idea that the Aiel have been sending the men who can channel off to fight the Dark One, and the Dark One's been saying, cool, you're on my side now.
Yeah, I'm really curious what he was doing with them for the centuries before the last battle. Was he using them as breeding stock, as raiders, as agents elsewhere, hopping through dimension tunnels? Were they just wandering around making some sort of weird society and killing each other and not having any direction? Like, what were they doing for the centuries upon centuries that this was happening?
My headcanon is this is a relatively new thing in the last 20 years.
Okay.
Part of me assumes, right, that Ishamael, right, my headcanon is he, about 20 years ago when the Dragon Reborn was born, when Rand was born, Ishamael was able to escape. He started his 20-year cycle of being able to escape the world of dreams. And so he's kind of been out in the world for about 20 years doing things. And by out in the world, I mean possibly just in the world of dreams.
Right. First layer of contact with the real world.
Right. Because my theory about Moridin, right, why is you've got this cycle where he comes closer and closer to the world, and he doesn't have the whole 20 years in the physical world. He has 20 years of influence, and at both ends of that, he can only talk to people in the world of dreams.
That would make sense.
So this idea that like Moridin is able to, because we see him as an advisor, like, because I always thought, oh, maybe he's only in the world of dreams, but that doesn't work because we see him as a physical advisor to Arthur Hawkwing.
Right.
But in the beginning of Eye of the World, it seems like he is confined to the world of dreams. So possibly I'm thinking as that cycle comes back around, at least in the beginning, he has access to Teleron Riyadh before he has access to the physical world.
Yeah. And so, yeah, these men were sending themselves north and dying like they expected to. And then he starts showing up in the feverish dream nightmare states of these men at a certain point and gives them this option and turns them, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a recent phenomena. Yeah, that makes more sense than this being perpetual for as long as the Aiel have existed. I just kind of assumed they've always been there. And it's just like, but how? And they didn't is a very simple explanation. They just didn't.
Right. And that explains why you don't have and also they don't live very long. Even the ones who are converted, right, they die quickly. They're pretty much cannon fodder. They fight amongst each other. Yeah, and yeah, Slayer talks about Isam, right, talks about being in the village as a young boy.
And he sees them. He's familiar with them from
He's familiar
that.
with them, yeah.
But that still that fits because he was a small child when Malkir fell.
Which was 40 years ago.
Good point.
That's always, there's that Malkir fell.
Because he's just a few years older than Lan.
Yeah.
Because he was like a small child, not a baby, but still far too young of a child to be responsible.
Because he's Lan's cousin, if I remember correctly. So of the same generation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, he's like, I'm assuming like 5 or something when him and his mother get swarmed and lost to the blight. So yeah, that is more like 40 years ago. Like say his memories kick in, around age 10 or whatever when he's talking about that. Then yeah, that's 30 years ago. That's not 20 years ago. That's a whole ass decade of difference.
Right. So it's not a perfect theory, but I just don't believe that this has been going on the entire time. I have to assume this is a more recent phenomenon. Otherwise, there's got to be evidence of like red-veiled Aiel, like never in 1,000 years, no single person, they've never been used for anything.
Yeah, it's odd how to make that timeline line up because...
Right. And Lilligin saying time is different closer to the blight, but I think that's only during the last battle. Yeah, I don't think that's true.
During is complicated when you're talking about time itself, but yeah.
Specifically after the seals are broken.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I kind of agree with Sama Nasai. Maybe it's something that like started somewhere in the past and has kind of like waxed and waned over the centuries. Like when Ishamael's around, it's more of a thing, and I don't know. It's kind of like where the Trollocs getting all of their food from for all of the centuries. It's like it's a weird hole. Like that can't just be self-sustained. It's like, in a video game when it's like the bad guys just stand there perpetually having the same conversation for like 3 days while you wait to get around to that plot. Some parts of this logic don't make sense. Some parts of this are looping in ways that are irrational. But the concept of this asset, right? The men being an asset rather than a loss and being turned against these noble Aiel who are like the most aligned with the good side and have the least amount of dark friends, and to have them have provided such a dangerous weapon to the Dark One. Fantastic twist.
Yes. Yeah, this like you're throwing away an asset and you're not really considering what's happening to it once you throw it away, and someone's picking up your trash and going, ooh, treasure, and turning it against you.
Right, like the sea folk don't have that problem, right? Because most of their male channelers drop themselves off the side of the boat holding a weight, right? You can't retrieve people in the same way. Even the desert island method, it's still not like the land of madmen, right? If you were just like, oh, here, go to this actual island you can live on for realsies, then the Dark One could get to them. I kind of wonder if maybe he did get some of the like atoll stranded ones of the sea folk.
Interesting.
Like, there should be a red-veiled Aiel equivalent of sea folk. Maybe not the ones who drowned themselves. Maybe that's too fast. But the ones left for a few days on a small island, the Dark One could get to them.
But at least these guys are going directly to the Dark One themselves.
Oh, no, they are going to him because they're going to try to kill him. Oh, yeah. And the sea folk are down at the equator. They're nowhere near anything approaching where the Dark One can be reached. Oh, okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. Geography does matter with this. The Aiel are specifically seeking the Dark One so he can find them and confront them directly.
They are going into the blight to attack him. And he goes, cool. You're mine now.
Right.
And I assume, there's this, some are recruited, some are turned. Specifically, if you look at the red-veiled Aiel. Now, I'm not sure. This is where I get a little confused about the red-veiled Aiel, because I know the ones who have filed their teeth have been turned.
Yes.
Is it possible to have red-veiled Aiel who have not been turned who are not channelers?
No.
All red-veiled Aiel can channel.
To my understanding, that's what makes them red-veiled Aiel, is they are the channeling rejects from Aiel society. And that's a good question, Legion. Who's the first person to turn? If there's no one initially to turn them, then how does the turning cycle get started?
No, there's always been, you could have a couple of Black Aja.
Oh, yeah. And there are Dark Friend Aiel. It does happen Plus, you could probably also like torture some of the more weak-willed ones into voluntarily swearing over and bootstrapping up from there.
Yeah, Athlon disagrees. He says Avienda mentions some of the red-veiled Aiel can channel, implying that some can't.
Well, why are they red-veiled if they can't channel?
Because I think there's a breeding population of Aiel up in the Blight of evil.
But it's all men who were going up there.
Yeah. They could be interbreeding.
Where are you getting females from, is my point. Where are you getting uteruses from? If it's all men, who's incubating these?
The town isn't all men.
Oh, right. I forgot about the town.
And raids, right? They're pulling, some of them are food, some of them are breeding stock.
So there's some Aiel who were born there of both genders who want to be red-veiled Aiel or are turned to be, either way, red-veiled Aiel who lack the capacity to channel.
Mm-hmm.
That makes plausible sense. It probably have a much higher population of channelers, percentage of channelers in the population than elsewhere because of the Aiel men source. But that's valid, yeah.
But one would also assume that the men channelers do not last very long.
Yeah, they don't have to. I mean, you can still...
Because they are still going insane. Well, that's the question. Are they still going insane or are they protected? Because, I mean, that not why they're being recruited, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole shtick. Or do only Forsaken get the protection. But, like, seriously, like, you can be a little bit mad and still get a woman knocked up and then go wander off and die. And, like, Or
here's the other question. Because the ones who are converted are taken over by something that, destroys their soul and essentially takes them over, can that thing channel without being corrupted? Because it's already corrupted, right? What are you going to drive insane?
Yeah, kind of like the Zomara. They, like, aren't really people. I could see that the madness doesn't affect a turned person because their soul is more like a fragment of the Dark One already than a human soul. So, like, you can't corrupt yourself with yourself. That's not a thing. Ugh, that's really dark. Like it?
Oh, and reading tarvalin.net, some Seminasai are recruited instead of turned and undergone some sort of training. It is said those that do not breed true will often wash out of their training and die. So they're being bred.
Presumably for the ability to channel. Again, probably way higher than a 1 to 2% channeling rate in this population.
So where are you pulling that from, Seminasai? Which I love that Seminasai is giving us information about Seminasai.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that's what Seminasai meant.
Me too, I completely did as well.
He just hangs out here and chat all the time, and it's like, oh, that's your name.
So Wat Phantom says the Seminasai are corrupted and subverted group of Aiel warriors. Aiel men who discover they can channel tainted Sidene go north into the Blight to fight the Shadow in hopes of dying in battle. It appears that since the breaking, many have been captured over time and turned to the Shadow. Afterwards, the Aiel men have been able to channel with Sidene with the Dark One's protection from the taint.
This also explains how it can happen when a Shamael's not around, right? The town and the red-veiled Aiel society that exists are able to perpetuate the cycle even without a Shamael directly around.
I just have a hard time that it's been going on since the breaking, and we didn't see them in the Trolloc Wars. We didn't, 3,000 years of them being confined to the Blight. Are you kidding me?
I bet it's more like if you see them, you die. They're like blood knives, but even bloodier and knifier. Yeah, it is worth pointing out that the Aiel cannot have been doing this since the breaking, per se, because the Aiel don't exist until about, the fighty Aiel don't exist until maybe 400 or 500 years after the breaking. I mean, they still had men who could channel, but they were picking a variety of ways of offing themselves. They weren't all going to fight the Dark One when they were,
And they weren't even in the Waste yet, close to the Blight. Right.
Right.
Yeah. That quote from Wat Phantom feels wrong to me.
But I can totally believe that it's been going on more than the last 20 years since Rand was born. It has to have been going on longer. I could see it being something that goes back several centuries, but it is weird that they are not a piece of lore that exists, which means that maybe they're being used in Shara entirely, a place where there's no contact because, geographically.
But how do you get them there before you have Shamael coming out? You don't have gateways, right? Until you have the Forsaken freed.
Way gates? portal stones?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with Seminosai that
hole.
I think the Trolloc Wars is probably the best time for them to be established. They're in the Blight. The Dark One's forces are out and around.
And it was the last time that Ishamael was out when he set a lot of the seeds that he got to come back to.
Wasn't Trolloc Wars before Arthur Hawkwing? It was Trolloc Wars, then Arthur Hawkwing.
Honestly, not sure. That they're so cool. They can't be a plot hole.
Yeah, Hawkwing was second. So Trolloc Wars is 1,000 years. It's breaking. Trolloc Wars, Arthur Hawkwing, last battle every 1,000 years.
Oh, okay.
So that means that they've been around for 2,000 years, which makes sense. The Aiel would have been around for a while at that point, right? They would have been sending their men to the Blight to fight it for a couple hundred years, long enough for that to be an established tradition, but not like that it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. But then again, yeah, 2,000 years of having red-veiled Aiel and no mention of it, no lore, no not using them in any other situation, having these people who are extremely volatile, burn out extremely fast, are extremely powerful, and just keeping them in the Blight for thousands of years. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
What's the value?
Yeah, that's holy, like cheese.
So yeah, I like the idea a lot, but I would have liked the idea more if he made it clear that this was something that Moridin started doing recently.
Yeah. Or if they were just people from the land of madmen, and it was a precursor to the Shara thing. I'm like, oh no, the land of madmen matters.
No, but I like the idea that like we've known that these men are being
sure.
sent
Yeah,
into the
fair
Blight
enough,
for a
fair
long
enough.
time. I like using that little bit, but I would have liked it better if Ishamael was like, and this time when I broke out, I took advantage of those men and I started recruiting, right? Like that would have been a nice line for him to drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Not enough information to really make a decision about like when these things were started. Just guesses.
Bummer.
Yeah. Because we know how long the men have been going to the Blight. We don't know how long they've been recruited to the Dark One.
Right. Right. But with that, should we turn to Rand?
Someone who very well could have become one of the red-veiled Aiel had he been born among the Aiel. He would have been sent off and would have been... Can you imagine that as one of the portal stones, right? He's born there. He learns he can channel. He goes off to fight the Dark One, and the Dark One's like, sweet. Turning the Dragon Reborn. They sent him right to me.
Presumably that is one of the visions in the portal. Flicker.
Right? Because all that takes is him being found by Aiel instead of being found by Taim, and him being taken back. Tam.
Yeah, totally. It easily could have happened, except that it couldn't because Taviran, but like it could have. It could have. Absolutely in the Flicker that would have happened.
Imagine he was found by Taim, who was an older...
I mean, he was old enough to find a baby on the battlefield at that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Raised him kind of the way Matt raised Olver.
Basically, yeah, the age difference would have been about right.
Yeah. All right, so Rand al'Thor, enjoying his dream in his own private head that no one could possibly get into. Except we know he's sharing a head with Moridin.
Except for his quantum entangled body double.
Ever since the cross. So I very much believe this is a crossing of the stream situation.
Yeah, this is just because of the crossing of the streams. Has nothing to do with the Dark One. Has nothing to do with weird stuff that's being intentionally done. This is simply the result of the Balefire streams crossing.
That's how I have to picture the mind link between him and Moridin. And then I think Lanfear having access to it is a deliberate choice by Moridin.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, the mechanics for this it's ever since
Shadow Logith.
Yeah, ever since that time, ever since that moment, this has been a possibility and an inevitability.
So, I mean, he's sort of just thinking in his dream until, calmness, harmony. In the distance, he heard screams of pain. The scream came again, distant. He frowned and raised a hand. The scene around him vanished, puffing away into mist. He stood in blackness, right? So this is kind of, I imagine this is the place between dreams.
But without all the sparkly star things.
Right, because he's in his own head.
Right, so this is more like the space between when you're skimming. This is like the skimming void, almost. But the dreamish equivalent?
Right, so imagine like the dream space is made up of everybody's heads and then little sparkly dreams inside of them. If he's just in his own head, his space is going to be empty. And if he's not actively dreaming, there's going to be no sparkle.
Yeah, that makes sense. His Wi-Fi's turned off.
Yeah,
So
totally.
he doesn't see all the other Wi-Fi networks.
Right. He's warded.
Yeah.
So he's not
Yeah.
going to see the other dreams, and the other dreams supposedly can't see him. There, he thought, he was in a long corridor of dark wood paneling. He walked down it, boots thumping. A corridor connecting two places, like his head and Moridin's head.
Yeah, the analogy, metaphor, dream docking that's happening here is, I think, very obvious.
He began to run. He reached a doorway at the end of the hall. He reached a mind at the end of the connection. The door's russet wood was knobbed and rigid like thick roots of an ancient tree. Who has an ancient mind? Who's been around for a long time? Moridin. Rand seized the handle, just another root, and wrenched the door open. He enters Moridin's mind. The vast room beyond was pure black, lightless, like a caravan deep beneath the ground.
Cavern.
Oh. Caravan is not pronounced cavern. Oh, well, I just learned something today.
Audiobooks and physical books and dyslexia are fun.
That word is pronounced cavern. And that's a different thing than a caravan. A cavern is a cavern.
Yeah.
A caravan, I thought, was something different than a cavern.
A caravan is a thing. A caravan is a caravan. And a cavern is a cavern.
Right. And I thought a hole in the ground that's pronounced caravan was, pronounced the same as caravan. Yeah.
As a geologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I got you. It's just my brain went, oh, those are different words. Anyway, the room seemed to suck in light and extinguish it, right? Because he is linked to the Dark One. He is linked to the true power. That's that which is often described as sucking in the light around it.
I mean, the sparks and the darkness that Min sees around the boys, right?
Right. The screaming voice was inside. It was weak, as if it was being smothered by the darkness. Now, I think this is just Lanfear in, Moridin's head.
Yeah. And then the room was round, as if he stood inside the bowl of an enormous skull.
Right. And the walls felt like bone.
Like, we're in his head. We are physically, literally in his head.
Yeah. The walls are made of bone. They're in his skull.
Yeah, you are in his head. You are in his dream.
How had this woman gotten into his dream, right? Well, you've warded your mind, but you have this back door, which is the fact that the pattern has linked your soul with Moridin's. And I believe this is all manipulation. This is all deliberate on the Dark One's part. Moridin and Lanfear. I believe they plan this out together.
Right. This isn't like that scene when Moridin is like, what are you doing here? What do you want? And Rand's like, what's happening? Like, I think that in that instance, it was genuinely an accidental contact. I completely agree that this was a docking procedure initiated by Moridin and orchestrated, and Lanfear is the bait in the trap.
And I think last time it helped Moridin realize the connection, and now he's using it.
Right. It gave him an idea. It's like, oh, I could use this.
And he can't reach out to Rand's mind, but he can, he can't go into Rand's mind, I should say, but he can create a lure to bring Rand into his.
Yeah, they're closely connected enough that he can knock on Rand's door and provide a hallway at the foyer of Rand's mind palace. And
so he encounters Sindain, right? This is not Lanfear. The face was different, but he knew the soul.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a woman with silvery hair, right? Lanfear has dark hair. Sindain has silver hair. So
yes.
This is Sindain. This is the Sindain body.
Yep. You're dead. I saw you die. No, she didn't die then. Although she did die, right? Like this is
she
very
didn't die
weird.
Then, though. She died later.
Yeah.
She didn't die as a result of going through the door. She died as a result of whatever it was that Moridin bargained for after he went through a door.
Or Moridin just killed her.
Right, but either way, like the going through the door didn't kill her. He didn't see her die. What killed her was completely separate from that.
And I think in this moment he should realize, hey, if she didn't die, maybe Moiraine didn't either. I think he has that thought later.
Yeah. And yeah, she says a lot of things, but one of the things she says is, he comes, the shadow in every man's mind, the murderer of truth. And there's so much about this that makes me think this is Jordan prose, and that is just the most crown jewel in the whole thing. That feels like 1991 Jordan at the latest. That feels like something that he wrote as like an alternate version to the scene with his mother at the end of Eye of the World. It feels so old school Jordan. A lot of this feels old school Jordan. Before we get to the Meerrin part even, there's him looking down on a nameless valley below in the mountains of mist where he had his painful journey, whatever. It just, the way that he talks feels like Eye of the World. It all feels so early 90s.
It feels like a very well written dream sequence, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like
where there's just enough mystery and just enough left unsaid, but and just enough little like weird metaphysics that throw you off. Like, it's really well done in Jordan's style in a way that, yeah. Whether it's Jordan or Sanderson doing a really good job imitating it.
Yeah, but it feels like he wrote a lot of scenes that were both at the beginning and the end, right? Because we know that he initially wrote the end of the books and then went back to the beginning and called the prologue epilogue originally. And it feels to me like he actually wrote some more than one scene from the end as he was getting it fired up. So that way he kind of knew what he was writing to, knew where the loop was going to close. And this to me does not feel like Sanderson doing his best Jordan impression. I feel like we've seen that elsewhere. And this feels like the authentic vintage stuff.
Yeah, you combine that with just all the times that like Mirren has been in dreams trying to seduce him. Remember the whole lake scene where she's like, "Oh, you got me," right? Like,
and like the way she describes her experience, right? Like he grinds my bones and snaps them like twigs. Like, that is so not the way that even Jordan was writing about how the Forsaken talked about the Dark One in later books. It's so poetic. It's not direct. It's not, I don't know. There's just something about it that's really abstract in a way that reminds me of all of his early dream sequences.
yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, it feels, and I hesitate to be like, this is definitely written by Jordan, but it feels to me like it was written by Jordan.
This is one of the ones where I'm the most confident, right? Like, I've been building my confidence over the course of these last two books, and this one, it just feels so jarringly like Eye of the World. It just be weird if I didn't call it out. But yeah, this is also, like you said, she does like to get to him in dreams. And I totally believe, like, when I first read this, I thought that she was actually authentically here and authentically reaching out to him. And yeah, now, no. She is play acting as much as she ever was. This is 100% her and Moridin cooking up a plan together and her running her lines that they agreed on while he watches from behind one-way glass or whatever.
You know what they call a cavern caravan?
No.
The subway.
It is true. That is a caravan in a cavern. That is precisely what that is. For sure.
And shall we end the chapter with the last charge of Malkier?
Yeah. So the last POV of the book is Lan doing Aragorn charging the gates of
Mordor. One does not simply charge the gates of Mordor, yes.
Yeah, tiny little force going up against a force, an order of magnitude or 3 bigger than them. It's epic. He's grimy. His hair is blowing in the wind. Everyone's screaming and charging. It's just fantastic. And you leave the books being like, that we're gonna need an on your left.
Right.
In order for this to work out. But you don't get that till next book.
It's setting up the endgame moment, right? The portal's opening up and all the guys, and Rand stepping out, right? The whole Wheel of Time did it first.
I mean, I'm pretty sure someone else did it before Wheel of Time, but sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that idea of like you're charging and then suddenly like you have allies next to you that you didn't expect.
Opening up out of magic portals. Yeah, I mean, definitely Sanderson in Wheel of Time did it before Endgame, the movie, did it. It's so good. I love how this book leaves us on this hopeful but bleak moment. And, spoilers, we know that it's going to turn into the most triumphant cavalry rally ever. And that's very cool to leave the book on with that. And also, throwback to book 1, Tarwin's Gap. We are at Tarwin's Gap, that place where Rand first touched the clean male power, where he faced his mother asking to be released from the Dark One, like all of that circling back around. We're back.
And essentially destroyed the Dark One's ability to make battle for multiple years, right? Like, if he hadn't destroyed the force at Tarwin's Gap in Eye of the World, I assume basically the world would have been at war this whole time, and they would have no chance in the last battle.
Yeah, he bought them those 2 precious years for all that plot development and army organizing.
I feel like I can read the whole thing.
It's nothing but epic. If you're going to read any of it, you have to read all of it.
I'm reading the whole thing.
Do it. I'm here for it. I'm sure to get, wet your whistle, get your breath, your diaphragm supported, all that.
A cruel, dry wind blew across Lan's face as he looked down at a corrupt landscape. Tarwin's Gap was a wide pass, rocky, speckled with blighted knife grass. This had once been part of Malkier. He was home again. For the last time. Masses of Trollocs clustered on the other side of the gap. Thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. Easily 10 times the number of men Lan had gathered during his march across the borderlands. Normally men held their side of the gap, but Lan could not do that. He had come to attack, to ride for Malkier. Andre rode up beside him on his left. On your left. Young Kaisel of Kandor on his right. He could feel something distant that had given him strength recently. The bond had changed. The emotions had changed. He could still feel Nynaeve, so wonderful, caring, and passionate in the back of his mind. He should have been pained to know that now she would suffer when he died, instead of another. However, that closeness to her, a final closeness, brought him strength. The hot wind seemed too dry. It smelled of dust and dirt, and drew the moisture from his eyes, forcing him to blink. It is fitting, Kaisel said. What? Lan asked. That we should strike here. Yes, Lan said. It is bold, Kaisel said. It shows the shadow that we will not be beaten down, that we will not cower. This is your land, Lord Mandragoran. My land, he thought. Yes, it was. He nudged Mandarb forward. I am Lan Mandragoran, Lan bellowed, Lord of the Seven Towers, defender of the Wall of First Fires, bearer of the Sword of the Thousand Lakes. I was once named Annaline, but I reject that title, for I am alone no longer. Fear me, Shadow, fear me and know I have returned for what is mine. I may be a king without a land, but I am still a king. He roared, raising his sword. A cheer rose from behind him. He sent a powerful final sensation of love to Nynaeve as he kicked Mandarb into a gallop. His army charged behind him, each man mounted. A charge of Kandori, Arafellan, Shinarans, and Saldeans. But most of all, Malkieri. Lan wouldn't be surprised if he'd drawn every living man from his former kingdom who could still hold a weapon. They rode, cheering, brandishing swords and leveling lances. Their hooves were thunder, their voices a crash of waves, their pride stronger than the blazing sun. They were 12,000 strong, and they charged a force of at least 150,000. The day will be remembered in honor, Lan thought, galloping forward. The last charge of the Golden Crane. The fall of the Malkieri. The end had come. They would meet it with swords raised. Lo, it shall come upon the world that the prison of the Great One shall grow weak, like the limbs of those who crafted it. Once again, his glorious cloak shall smother the pattern of all things, and the great Lord shall stretch forth his hand to claim what is his. The rebellious nations shall be laid barren, their children caused to weep. There shall be none but him, and those who have turned their eyes to his majesty. In that day, when the one-eyed fool travels the hall of mourning, and the first among vermin lifts his hands to bring freedom to him who will destroy, the last days of the fallen blacksmith's pride shall come. Yea, and the broken wolf, the one whom death has known, shall fall and be consumed by the midnight towers. And his destruction shall bring fear and sorrow to the hearts of men, and shall shake their very will itself. And then shall the Lord of the evening come, and he shall take our eyes, for our souls shall bow before him. And he shall take our skin, for our flesh shall serve him. And he shall take our lips, for only him will we praise. And the Lord of the evening shall face the broken champion, and shall spill his blood and bring us the darkness, so beautiful. Let the screams begin, O followers of the shadow. Beg for your destruction. From the Prophecies of the Shadow.
The end of the 13th season of Wheel of Time spoilers.
We still have tangents.
We still have tangents. There is an epilogue to the way we do this, but there it is.
There it is. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I don't know there's a lot to talk about with Lan other than just, he Aragorn's hard. It's 12,000 versus 150,000. It's every last Valkyrie. It's epic.
It's epic. It's great. It's fantastic. The speech is fantastic. I reject I am a man alone, for I am no longer alone. Great line.
That is so much closure. He's like, I am so fully committed to this that I'm letting go of my stoic, solitary warrior identity, and I am joining with you. It's kind of like Perrin, being like, I accept being in the structure.
And guess what the next chapter we're going to read is in New Spring?
Lan being praised as on a line by the Aiel. Oh, yeah, we're going to full circle back to him.
We're going to full circle that bitch. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
That's good. That's why it's a good reason to do it now. But yeah, he's remember that moment when he was, praised by the Aiel of Analine and they didn't attack him because he is important. It's because their prophecies and their wise women, one assumes that the wise women had a prophecy about Lan and his role in the last battle.
Yeah. Sure seems like it. Yeah. It's, the full circle of it all. It's great. It's good. It's really good. Sanderson is very good at bringing all the loose ends together into a satisfying closure. He really is. And yeah, we've talked about these prophecies quite a bit, particularly the middle one, right? We talked about that a lot just a bit ago.
Yeah, I think maybe worth going over again since it's actually in this chapter.
But we can start at the top and go through all 3 paragraphs of it. The first paragraph is mostly just like, and then shit's going to get weird. Which,
right.
Okay, sure.
The prison of the Dark One shall grow weak. We've seen that with the seals weakening. Like the limbs of those who crafted it, right? Like people die. There's all things end in time.
Right. And also like the taint has been eroding at the ability for humanity to channel effectively while acts of humanity are, chipping away at the seals.
The rebellious nations, I assume that's referring to just like all the nations who rebel against the Dark One, right? The 10 nations.
Yeah, any nation that's not sworn to the Dark One is a rebellious nation. Yeah, just the hope of there being none but him and those who have turned their eyes to his majesty. Like, that's just what they want.
Everyone's kind of looking at the storm in the sky, right? Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I guess, kinda, sure. Everyone is maybe not looking at his majesty in the respectful way. It's more in the horrified way. And then the middle paragraph is very much about Perrin, but also Matt, right? The one-eyed fool traveling the halls of mourning is about Matt. The first among vermin is Rand. And then the fallen blacksmith
I don't think so.
Is Perrin. Oh, you don't think so?
The first among vermin is Logain.
Oh, of course. That makes total sense. Because at first I was like, it almost looks like it should be Egwene, but it's clearly a male pronoun. But Egwene's counterpart, the leader of male channelers, who is not a Forsaken.
And he destroys the seals. So he brings freedom to he who will destroy. He frees the Dark One from his prison.
Oh, shit, you're right.
By destroying the seals.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Definitely.
He lifts his hand, he smashes the seals. Like that is a...
First among vermin is Logain. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's a prophecy for Logain destroying the seals, in my opinion. I think that's 100% what that is.
No, that's way more logical than Rand, given that he does pass the breaking of the seals off, and that does end up being Logain's job ultimately. Okay. All right. I like that. But the fallen blacksmith is definitely Perrin.
Yeah, totally.
And then we've got the broken wolf whom death has known falling from the midnight towers. We've talked about how maybe that is Hopper and the way that he died in the dream and the mega death and all of that. Mega death.
And I always want to make it Gnome because he also died in the tower, right? And death has known, and he's...
Knoll.
Did I say Gnome?
Because Gnome and Knoll are literally one letter in the alphabet apart.
Yeah, and they're both broken wolves, yeah.
Like, honestly, it could be Knoll.
Knoll, because he's kind of referred to as an old wolf, right? And he's like, he falls in the tower and is consumed by it and his destruction. The fear and sorrow to the hearts of men. Again, that to me goes better with Hopper than with Knoll.
Yeah, because I feel like the world has already moved on from Jane Farstrider being a person. He's just an author of or a character in a book now. But yeah, it works either way, though. I'm kind of fine with squirreling it either way. Hopper deserves it more, though. And then the last paragraph is just a very Roman curse benediction kind of thing to the Dark One. I love the HBO show that came just before Game of Thrones that's called Rome. Literally, they scrapped Rome to make Game of Thrones. I will never not be mad about it.
Rome was good. Rome was very good.
Rome was so fucking good. But there's a whole sequence where they do a curse. Right, where the one woman makes a couple of curses for some other people, and she writes them into lead sheets. And I watched a video somewhere on YouTube, or read an essay somewhere that was talking about how we found these things. Those curse sheets are a very real thing. That thing in the show is a real thing that Romans did. We found those like at the bottom of wells and wedged into building foundations and stuff like that. It's a real thing.
Thoughts and prayers.
I know, right? And the way that is delivered in the show Rome, which also that was what's her face, who was cast in Wheel of Time.
Oh, really? Polly Walker, Kelly Corden, Lindsay Duncan.
It's Lindsay Duncan. Literally, it is Lindsay Duncan who was cast in Wheel of Time. It's her character in Rome, and she puts a curse on Caesar. And it has kind of this cadence where she's offering to the gods of hell, or to the gods of Dis, technically. And I give you his breath, and I give you his lips, and I give you his heart. And that's like the way she says it. And the cadence of this reminds me of that. It gives me that like ancient curse, except in this case, it's a, dark, evil person, doing more of a benediction for selling themselves to the Dark One. But it still gives me that creepy, ancient energy, and I love it.
And she's portrayed as Moraine's sister.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever her
in Wheel of Time
character's name is in Wheel of Time. But
Anniver is the name of
Anver Damodred in Wheel of Time. And yeah, in Rome, she plays Brutus's mother, who is also Caesar's scorned mistress. And she is portrayed as kind of orchestrating Caesar's assassination because she feels spurned. That's how Rome went with it. I don't know that that's historically accurate, but she did a very good scorned lover, and I don't care about the historicity of that.
Servilia of the Junii.
It's Servilia of the Julii.
Thank you.
And she's in this whole like nemesis thing with Polly Walker, who like I thought I would watch Polly Walker in anything, and then I tried to watch Bridgerton, and there was not enough Polly Walker for me to be willing to watch Bridgerton.
Got it.
I really wanted to watch it just for Polly Walker, though, because God, I'd watch her in anything. Except apparently Bridgerton, because she's not a central character.
Polly Walker is one of those names that almost sounds like you're describing the way somebody walks. Oh, he's a Polly Walker.
Like a polymath or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Polly
exactly.
Walker. Good. She has a degree from the Ministry of Silly Walks. She's a Polly Walker.
That would make sense. Yeah. She's quite good at many of them.
Exactly.
You can get your degree as a mono walker, but that's really pretty boring. If you can dual major in silly walks and polly walking.
Yeah. But yeah, as for the last bit of this prophecy, I think it's amazing that Sanderson, in speaking to us as the audience, is like, let the screams begin, O followers of the shadow. Beg for your destruction. He's like, I'm going to destroy you. I am going to kill characters. I'm going to twist your heart out. I am going to make this so miserable. Beg me for it. Beg me for it, you serfs. I feel like he was kind of speaking to us with that very last line. Beg for your destruction, because the last book does destroy you, right? I mean, Bella's death? I was crying when Bella died. I couldn't do anything while Olver was on the brink of death, and is he gonna sound the horn and what's gonna happen? And like, I couldn't do anything while I was listening to that. Like, I like Sanderson telling us, no, seriously, gird your loins. This last book's going to be rough.
And it was.
And it was. And it will be when we come back in some, as of yet, slightly fuzzy number of weeks, because we are not doing the next book right away.
Right.
We are waiting for a hot minute, but it's going to be rough when we do eventually get to it.
Right. So just so you have an idea, if we want to include this, we are doing New Spring next. We plan on doing 5 episodes for the whole book. So, split that up about 5 to 6 chapters per episode, right? Because there's 26 chapters plus an epilogue. So it's 5 chapters per episode, except for the first and the last episodes, which we're doing 6, and then we're including the epilogue. So they're definitely shorter chapters. We're planning on getting through them the reason I think this is doable is because the chapters in New Spring are significantly shorter than chapters in the rest of the Wheel of Time, and less happens in each single one, right? And we're probably not going to dig into all of the Aes Sedai names, right? Like, we're going to be like, yes, these are all mentioned Aes Sedai, but they might be longer episodes. They might be, we might go back to 2+ hour episodes to get through all that information. Then we are going to take about a month break, a summer break, because of travel and just maybe, giving us a chance to refresh our brains before we start Memory of Light. And we expect to start the prologue of Memory of Light in August.
Yeah, that is the current plan, is for a lot of reasons, a lot of logistical reasons, August. Not in the Wheel of Time ironic sense, like literal August.
And then as we lay it out, our goal is to then finish up a Memory of Light by April.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. That gives us 9 months, which on average is about how long it's been taking us to get through a given Wheel of Time book, is about 9 months if you go back and look at our history. So, we're not necessarily trying to hit the 10-month anniversary. It's just looking like it's almost inevitable. And if we don't hit it, it's going to be like, I'll regret it.
Yeah. We'll obviously not sacrifice the quality of the podcast to make that deadline, but we are going to attempt to make that deadline.
Right. And try and do the whole series within 10 years of starting it.
Yeah.
Which, go back and look at it. I bet at some point I'd be like, yeah, it's probably going to take like 10 years or something like that. I would love if I had that quote in an early episode, because people would be like, you know what you're committing to. And I just want to say, yes, at this point, yes, I have a full understanding of the commitment to the whole, doing podcasting, the whole series of the Wheel of Time. But in a lot of ways, we have the first book and the last book left. That's it.
Yeah. And for now, our mission is to record tangents. So I think we should stop this recording and
definitely
move on towards that, because we have to do our tangents episode.
We have to.
Yeah. Every book gets tangents.
I have to get some of this stuff out in a way, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Turning recording off now.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.